Well, howdy, howdy. It is day 8. I am Teresa Rodden. I am the author, coach, and advocate that wrote this little beauty here, created this little beauty just for you so you can explore your relationship with alcohol, but more importantly, with yourself. It's the Explore 28-Day Journal, and we are on day 8 today. How's that so far? The most important part of this entire process is to be committed and consistent and do it every single day for 28 days. That's when you're going to see maximum change. That's when you're really going to see a lot of shift in your thinking. Even with my one-on-one clients, stay clear of using alcohol as a focus. Like, I am not going to drink for 28 days. I don't want you to count the days that you're not drinking. I want you to make the days count, to really focus on who it is you want to be, how you want to live your life, and what it is you want to do in this world, in this time that we have. When we opt to get drunk and not be conscious, like, at least that's the way I drank, we're forfeiting life. We are forfeiting living in that moment. Or that when you're drunk and you don't remember anything for several hours, that's part of your life that you're missing, that you can't ever get back. And this insight will always have a connection to your writing prompt. Now, it's really important that you understand that I'm not trying to feed you what to think or what you should think or what you should do. What I'm wanting to do is inspire you to think a little bit differently than you've always thought. If we want different, we've got to think different, be different. That's when we'll create that lasting change. So when I share these little nuggets, these little insights, it's not to necessarily influence you. It's to get you to think about your situation differently, because of course, we don't all have the same experience. And so my experience may look vastly different, but you may have a similar, you may have an experience that you could apply the way I'm thinking about something to your experience. If you want different, you've got to start with the mind first. We've got to change our thinking before we can change our drinking. Otherwise, we just stay in that same pattern over and over and over again. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with our little Holy Sober insight. Coming from a lineage of women and men who drank to get drunk, I thought it was normal. Why on earth would you stop at one? For the first 20 years of my drinking career, I drank to get drunk because it was the weekend or holidays. Then began weekends and Wednesday night. Then nighttime eventually progressed into, I just want to stop thinking about everything drinking. Alcohol worked like a charm. Well, at least while I was drinking. And then, of course, when we stopped drinking, a few things happened. So at the end of my drinking, I would wake up around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and just pop up out of bed, absolutely terrified. My heart would be racing. I'd have these massive terror attacks, is what I'd called them. And I again, this is all in Holy Sober. And there'd be no reason for it. There's no reason why I should feel these things. And I would get up and I'd look around the house and I'd think, what am I, am I predicting something? Does my body know something that I don't know? And all it was anxiety. And when I went to the doctors, when I went to the emergency room on January 2nd of 2003, I had the blessed event that the doctor that I had was incredibly kind and super, super helpful. And he talked to me for at least an hour, just telling me what was going on with my body and how alcohol can be so destructive to a woman's body. And this was a doctor in an emergency room, but he really took the time to explain how when you use alcohol as a way to medicate your anxiety, it's like bringing you back on a springboard like this, and then when you let go, when you start sobering up, it springs you up right into your anxiety space. And I don't know if it was a combination of that and the horrible man that I was with at the time, and that my life was just so, everything I didn't recognize. I don't know what it was, but that was a defining moment for me. Just with that information, with that education of how a woman's body deteriorates and breaks down from overuse of alcohol so much quicker than a man, how it impacts our brain. It starts creating memory loss and where we start short-circuiting, and it increases our risk for disease. Just in the anxiety, the anxiety was paralyzing to me. So I stopped drinking. And I'm happy to report that although a handful of times, like when I moved across the country, I did ask for a prescription for anxiety meds, but that's really about it. Otherwise, I manage my anxiety with proper rest, with I'd like to say better diet, but I'm really kind of been sloppy with my diet. But exercise is really key. And what we put in our minds is what stays in our minds. So if we're watching a lot of, or reading or being influenced by a lot of anger, a lot of anxiety-ridden type content, and in the news today, you just can't get away from it. That lands in our psyche, and that actually breeds more anxiety and more anger and more bitterness and sadness and stuff. So really limit yourself to that, especially right before bedtime, or just limit yourself to what you put in is what you're going to put out, essentially. So take good care of yourself. So eating well, getting lots of exercise, if anxiety is your problem. So today, our writing prompt is, I think I drink because, and I shared what here is, I think I drank because I learned how to drink from my family. And it's not that I was born an alcoholic. I was not born an alcoholic, but I did learn how to misuse alcohol. I was in Holy Sober, the very first chapter is priming. I was primed to misuse alcohol. I was conditioned for it. I learned it, and there's many of you that you may not have been conditioned for it through your family, but society absolutely conditions us to misuse alcohol. So just think about that. Think about how you're thinking about your drinking and how it plays a role in your life. Is it really fun, or is it that you want to belong to, you want to fit in when you're out and about? So think about your drinking. I think I drink because, I'm just looking over my notes. I want to make sure I get everything. I just want to talk to you about alignment today, just a little bit. I'm sure there'll be another opportunity, but what we're thinking contributes to who we're being and then what we're doing. So again, it comes back to, what are we thinking? What are we thinking about our drinking? What are we thinking about ourselves drinking? What are we thinking about our relationship with alcohol? And how can you take charge of those thoughts? And remember this, because this is important. What we think is not always true. I know. Amazing, right? What we think is not always true. So we think we're having fun with drinking, but are we? If you're having fun with drinking, I want to know how you're having fun, because when I put that to my clients, I will say 99% of the time, they can't even convince themselves that it's actual fun that they're having. It's usually more so that they're fitting in or that they're relaxing, but fun is not the right word. But if you're having fun drinking, I want to know exactly what that looks like. So leave a comment. Okay. Wrapping up to our hour. I noticed that I say our, and I mean our, and I have no accent that I'm aware of. So just so you have 2 pages to journal. And I did it short intentionally so you don't feel overwhelmed when you're looking at this, that it doesn't feel too monumental, that it's something that you can do. It's kind of like bite size. So at the end of every journal entry, there is a closing quote, and that closing quote is something for you to ponder for the rest of the day. And it always ties it all together. Every day is kind of a theme. A theme. I don't know why I did air quotes. Okay. So the closing quote today is, we are addicted to our thoughts. We cannot change anything if we cannot change our thinking. Santosh Kalwar. So that just supports everything I've already said in the last 15 minutes. If you want to change your life, if you want to change your relationship with alcohol, it starts up here. And that's it. That's it for today. It's an absolute pleasure to be of service to you.